Hello all. Hey, listen, I wanted to get back to you and tell you about why some of the things that they kind of didn't talk about today. Talk about why, at least at this time, that we really want to go for a whole food plant-based diet. It's based on some research that Collin Campbell did 50 years ago. And let me just it does turn into the whole virus thing, so just bear with me for a few minutes. So back in the day, Collin Campbell was doing research on protein and, how it affected people. And he got pulled into a study in the Philippines where people were starving. And so he was trying to think of a way to bring protein to these starving people, but do it in an economical way. So they were thinking, hey, well, plants have protein, so let's give them plant protein. So they headed over there to the Philippines. He lived there for, I think, 5 years. And during that time, miraculous results. I mean, people were not dying anymore of malnutrition, and they were getting the foods that they needed. But in that time, he developed a lot of friendships with other doctors were there, and he was finding that these doctors were telling him about these children in the Philippines that were developing liver cancer, something that was basically for older people, not for children. So they did some research, and they were finding that these children happened to be part of the affluent society. And they were like, now that doesn't even make any more sense. So they started looking at the diet, and they realized that these children were having a lot more animal proteins than what an average child would ever have, because because meat was expensive. So they started running studies, and Collin Campbell took animals and he injected them with a carcinogen. I know, horrible, but it was a carcinogen that would create liver cancer. And then he gave half of the animals animal-based diets and half of the animals a meat-based diet, so animal-based protein. And he was using casein, which is in milk, okay? So anyways, they did the study, and when they concluded it, they realized that all of the animals in the study that were given the animal-based proteins all developed liver cancer. And they went back and they tested the plant-based animals, and none of them developed liver cancer. So they started messing around with the ratios of it. So what they found is that at a 5% animal-based level, you could turn off the formation of tumors. If you went above 5% with animal-based diet, you would turn it on. So they started playing with the ratios back and forth, and above 5%, up to 20%, it turned on, dropped down to 5% or below, and it turned off. So through that, he just knew right off the bat, okay, so animal-based proteins can turn on cancer in the liver when you have a chemical carcinogen put into you. But he decided there are viruses that can also turn on cancer. And one of them, for the liver, happens to be hepatitis B. So what he did was he once again did an animal study where he gave these animals hepatitis B. So sad, once again. But again, he did animal-based protein and he did plant-based protein. And what they found was that, once again, all of the animals who were given the animal-based protein all developed liver cancer, okay? But when they went to the plant-based, they realized they did not turn on the tumors in the liver. So they did not get liver cancer. But they even noticed further is that what they were finding is that the animals who had the plant-based, the viruses were even disappearing. So they were like, okay, this is some pretty exciting results, and because of that, this is why he's asking us to send out this information to people who are at high risk. So the people that in your lives that that have high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, anything that that would put them at the at-risk categories. So with that, I will stop and I will do another video because I know I have time limits here. So hopefully that made sense. If you have any questions, give me a call, and we're gonna move on to breakfast. Okay.